facilities. They're well-sized, properly dimensioned. So those kinds of rooms we should keep and not change. You have some great technology in use, kids using their cell phones and actually wiring the information up to the large screen projector in the classroom to work in small teams in a very creative way. High school science, you have some incredible microbiology programs linked to Hilliard School with regard to your medical programs. So again, to see your school district comprehensive really was very rewarding to me. Your tech and career programs are indeed exceptional. I've referenced them to 2 other clients that I'm working with currently, so you should be proud. Media centers are very well outfitted, but also going through change. You're remodeling several and using your book collections along with other kinds of technology. I threw that picture in because it's a third grader, or probably first grader. But our master plan wants to not just look at technology and science and the like, but also your art programs, from the youngest students to the older, but providing facilities, as you see on the right, that even give respect to the teacher to access a sink as well as a younger student accessing a sink. And one theme I think is absolutely essential: keep what works. It's not the job of a master plan to fix it if it ain't broke, to use a simple analogy, and I think it rings true here. But we also have to be realistic. There are some serious problems out there. And this brief series shows on the lower right moisture coming through a wall, affecting the structural system, and only 20 feet away there's a classroom activity going on. That's not acceptable. Boilers are particularly old, and so is the piping that goes with them. But I love that upper right-hand picture. It says, if this panel box sparks, call the maintenance man. Here's one I took not knowing what I was photographing. On the upper right, I thought, upper left rather, isn't that great? There's a commons in this school. And shortly thereafter, I saw all the kids come and occupy the commons. And I thought, isn't that nice? Little group gathering area. The kids can come and sit. Then I realized that they were all brought there according to the clock because they all had to go to the one bathroom. So many of the issues we're dealing with are not futuristic. They're doing the basics: safety, life safety, toilets, simple provisions so that education can start on a good foot every morning. This particular room is a home economics lab, no longer in use. Enrollments are changing. It needs to be repurposed. In this instance, it's repurposed for a practice room for music. There's a better way to handle that situation. So we want to fix safety to life, but we also want to repurpose spaces to get the best and most appropriate current use. And support spaces. Upper right, a classroom out in a very acoustically inappropriate hallway. It'd be like having a small group activity in this gymnasium. Lower left is the one where your copying machine is outside the classroom door in a hallway. And I can't see the upper one. Oh, that's storage, I think. In this particular example, a beautifully dimensioned science lab, a very good program. You're doing some very good things in this middle school science lab, except the lower right picture shows the only sink. So again, many of the issues aren't big issues. They're not big fundamental answers, but they are providing the basics, enough appropriately located sinks to make education serve you into the future, so that science can be remodeled into an example like this at a reasonable cost and improve education. One of my early visits, I said, how many people are capital planners out there? And nobody raised their hand. If you'll recall, I also challenged you to say that all of you are. So as you put on your review hats today, remain practical and use common sense. You've all lived in this community for a very long time. So new families, you have to buy a house or you rent an apartment. And if you're a senior citizen, you're downsizing. But the point is, you all have a practical understanding of what buildings, land, capital resources mean to you, how to spend your money, spend it wisely, and make sure that the issues we're going to be bringing to you tonight make common sense. And that they should, and they will. So to remind ourselves what was in our master plan, 6 months ago since we started. We started data collecting from the very moment we arrived. We visited every single building, as you saw, with photographs, but teams of architects and engineers were out there doing the same thing. We visioned with educational trends with your middle school, elementary, and high school teachers, administrators. What are the trends out there and how are they likely to impact you here? We established a standard so that each school would be treated equitably, one to the other, elementary by elementary. Apply existing and new facilities so standards applied equitably. We develop options, which you'll be hearing tonight, and as you heard, Piper Jeffries will be addressing issues of cost at a later date. But one thing we found is that traditional schools are changing, and many of the schools are redistributing their square footage markedly. So we want to be both educationally astute, but effective and efficient in the use of our space and our limited dollars. When we went through our existing facilities, we looked at the capacity. What's their utilization rate? We looked at the current educational programs, many of which I photographed tonight. Technology applications. So where can we start applying technology better and saving space? And then setting up programmatic goals. So the fundamental question was not only fixing the basics, but thinking out of the box. We were challenged with that chore as well. Tell us what other people are doing, and is it appropriate for us? Well, we suggested what other people are doing, but we built it upon what you're already doing well yourself. And for that, you should be proud. But your own staff then picked other ideas that are also relevant and appropriate. So we looked at technology, science, integrated learning, small learning communities, special needs students. And again, we can't forget every child is going to be important here. So we looked at a lot of trends, and many of which you're doing, robotics and the like in the elementary grades. We looked at small learning communities and neighborhood concepts so that you take a school that appears bigger in enrollment, but it's made smaller because of the small learning community. That was a big theme early on. We want to be able to deal effectively and efficiently with size, but do so in a manner that is small and appropriate to the learner. And we did that. We looked at a variety of options, including tech prep areas, and bringing in technologies for special needs students and education and science and other areas there. So we tried to do our homework and include you in the process. Looking at advanced trends in multimedia projection in science, but you're already doing it at the Hilliard School. So again, you're doing these things. We just want to bring them together cohesively in the master plan. So finally, we want to be fair and equitable. So we developed a prototype, applied it equitably across all schools, enrollments, grade configurations, existing, what's the school capacity, and ultimately making sure we don't forget somebody like the arts, physical education, and music. So a few closing concepts that I invite you to think about. Quality schools stabilize and grow the community, economy, and business. I want to come back to that. I was in real estate for years, and the reason I'm in this line of work is because I sold a lot of real estate. But the fact of the matter is, quality schools make your real estate value stable and rise, and I'm sure there's some support for that fact. Secondly, small learning communities personalize learning and allow larger schools to be more efficient and effective. That's the key, making them more efficient, but still dealing with that personal touch. The facility planning process must focus on people and buildings for the future. That's why we're all here. Years ago, I wrote an article that said simply, trust me, it's not a building process, it's a people process. And that's what we've been focusing on repeatedly in our meetings. Particularly relevant here is 90% of the schools of the future are already built. That's one of my quotes. Started it years ago. But everything's not going to be new. We're going to have to do good things by older buildings. So I guess the 60s, the old 40, isn't that what they say? Or that's how I'm supposed to feel. We're going to be able to make some of your older buildings certainly 21st century facilities. Poor facility management steals money. We talked about that. Those boilers, those other kind of issues are subtly taking money away from very needed causes. So one has to be careful not to perpetuate a solution and an activity that is not putting the money where the best bang for the buck is. When you hear ideas, you might feel frightened. Change isn't easy. It can be frightening. So again, take a moment, step away and breathe, like they say on TV. Okay, relax, maybe it's not so bad. So when you're seeing an idea that maybe for the first glance frightens you a little bit, give it a little time. Some very talented people have thought these ideas through and are trying to bring good ideas forward. So really, accept that fear a little bit and understand that a master plan